fast, I can guarantee you that.
What's up, cats and chicks? Outlaw Greaser here, and today we're talking about greaser movies from the 1950s, meaning they were filmed in the 50s, and they're relating to greasers. Because there's a lot of movies now that I'm going to cover that were made in the 50s, but I'm not going to cover in this video because they're rock and roll movies that were made in the 50s. You know, I did one video already, I'm pretty sure, on rock and roll movies. I might not have, but when I do, it's going to be modern rock and roll movies, such as, you know, Great Balls of Fire, Buddy Holly's Story, etc. I ain't going to go too much into that because it's giving stuff away. And then there's going to be movies from the 50s that are rock and roll movies, like The Girl Can't Help It and Rock Rock, you know, etc. Not going to go any further into that. But today, it's just plain old movies that apply to greasers from the 1950s. And starting off today on the list, of course, is going to be Marlon Brando's The Wild One. And I'm just going to kind of give you a little review of the movie. I think The Wild One's a pretty darn good one to start out with, especially for people coming into the style. That was one of the first greaser movies I ever saw, along with the next one on the list and the others that follow it. But The Wild One gives you a good idea of the style, because there's a bunch of other cats in The Wild One. How it starts out, pretty much, The Wild One, they roll into town with this big greaser gang all on motorcycles, big motorcycle gang, but it's all greasers, 1950s. And they pull up to this little town, and they pretty much just harass the town for the whole time that they're there, and they leave. But it just shows you pretty much like why greasers were feared, and you know what they were known for, and what they were not known for, but like kind of shows you the stereotype of greaser back then. You know, what they tried to portray greasers as was, you know, The Wild One and Marlon Brando's movie. Bunch of crazy hoodlums that just terrorize and stuff, no respect, you know, just juvenile delinquents. So, next on the list is Rebel Without a Cause, of course, by James Dean, with James Dean and Natalie Wood, I'm pretty sure. But it's a dang good movie. It's not near as greaser as you would want it to be. It's not very greasy, but everybody's got to see Rebel Without a Cause. If you haven't seen it, it is iconic of the 50s. James Dean is like the #1 teenage icon of the 1950s, so if you haven't seen his movies, then you really need to dive deeper into the culture, I'm telling you. So, Rebel Without a Cause is pretty good, but it's going to get you like it got me. I was expecting more of James Dean being like this badass tough guy. Really he wasn't. Really he was like a big crybaby. But there's some pretty cool scenes in it. Check it out. Hope y'all don't hate me for saying James Dean was a crybaby. But he played the character of a crybaby in Rebel Without a Cause. So let me know y'all's opinion on that in the comments below. Next up on the list, well, I was also going to mention that James Dean had another slew of movies. He had a lot of films he was in. He only had 3 movies. He had Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden, and Giant. The other 2 movies, though, East of Eden and Giant, ain't really greaser movies. That's why I wasn't going to really mention them. But I thought I ought to add them in there. If you haven't seen James Dean movies, go check out those 3 and try to find the films that he did, too, because those are cool. He also has some commercials telling you kids to be safe out there and not be speeding, which is very ironic, you know. But, okay, next on the list is probably my favorite 1950s greaser film, and it's got Jerry Lee Lewis in it, just in the very beginning. It's a Jerry Lee Lewis movie, but he's not a main character in the movie. He pretty much, I don't know if he wrote the movie or directed the movie or whatever, but his song, High School Confidential, is playing at the very beginning of it, and that's the title of the movie, High School Confidential. And it's about this real cool cat that starts school at this high school and is immediately the utmost, like, he goes to the coolest cats in the school and tries to top them pretty much, and he always does. So he's more in the know than anybody else in the school at this point, and everybody digs him, but they don't know that he's undercover, and I'm not going to go any further. So check it out, it's really cool. It's got some, you know, drag racing, it's got drugs, it's got fights, it's got all the teenage delinquent stuff that you would want to see in a movie, even Jerry Lee Lewis. So dig it, check it out. That's my favorite, so I hope y'all like that one as well, and let me know what you think about it in the comments. Next on the list, we're going to go with Ooh-Wee. How many of y'all knew? Now let me know, be honest now, how many of y'all ever heard of The Fast and the Furious? Did you know that it come out in 1954? Did you know that The Fast and the Furious was originally a greaser film about hot rods? It's actually about this crazy dude, crazy cat really, that kidnaps this chick and takes her on this wild goose chase. Everybody's looking for him, because he's wanted for murder. He just broke out of prison, and he kidnaps this chick at this diner and takes off trying to get to the border of Mexico with her, and it's pretty cool. So y'all definitely need to check that one out if you haven't seen that. And last but not least is one I was just watching today, and I had to include it on the list. And again, there's tons of these movies, and I'm just skimming over the best of the best in my opinion, because there's so many of them, like Blackboard Jungle, The Young Savages, The T-Bird Gang. There's just tons of 1950s juvenile delinquent films, and I've got a playlist here on my YouTube called Greaser Films, and it's got probably 10 of those in it. So if you want a sneak peek at what's going to be coming up in some of the videos, or you want to just get ahead and watch some of these movies without having to hear me talk about them, then go ahead and click on that Greaser Films playlist, and I got a ton of them in there for you, and as I find them, I'll be adding them to there. So the last one here is called Hot Rod Rumble, and it's pretty darn cool, but it's kind of sad, and I kind of feel for the cat in the movie. The cat's name is Big Arnie, and he's like the head cat, the coolest of the cool in the gang, and the gang's called the Road Devils. But he gets framed for some crazy, stuff that happens, and unfortunately it's by one of the crew members. So you gotta watch it to find out who's the crew member, and find out what happens to Big Arnie. But it's a pretty interesting flick as well, so be sure to check it out. And that's all I got on the list for y'all today. So we'll go over it again. We got The Wild One by Marlon Brando, Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean. You can check out his other movies, East of Eden and East of Eden and Giant, if you hadn't seen those already, but they're not specifically greaser. The rest of these on the list are High School Confidential, my favorite, The Fast and the Furious, 1954. Be sure to check that out. Most of these are on YouTube for free, so you can see most of these. If not, then I don't know. Get on the internet. It's 2022. You can pretty much search whatever movie you want to with free download or free stream at the end of it and find it on some illegal website. I'm not telling you to break the law, but I'm just telling you the possibilities out there. So, as I was saying, The Fast and the Furious 1954, gotta check that out. It is on YouTube. And Hot Rod Rumble is also on YouTube as well. So I hope all this information was very useful to you cats and chicks. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you'll go out there and check out some of these cool movies and let me know what you think down there in the comments below. As always, stay greasy, keep it rockabilly, and GTFO.